Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the part number 2 of this little series where we learn Go by building small little project. So we're still on the project number 1 where we want to learn about all those 5 stuff using the NHL API. So that was just an API I found online where I think makes sense to just play with that and learn a lot of the thing about like WaitGroup in channel. So in this part, what we're gonna learn today is gonna be about Goroutine, we're gonna learn about WaitGroup, and we're gonna learn about channel. So the way we're gonna work is, so in the NHL API, right now, we are able to get the team, okay? But one thing we can also get is the roster of the team. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just copy that inside another tabs, and I'm gonna take the ID of one of the team, okay? So if you go /team slash the ID of the team slash roster, you can roster, don't take a S, sorry, you can get the full list of the player of this team. So in this case that was I think that was a New Jersey Devils. So you see here you get all the player from this team. So as you can see, a player is have a type of person where you have his ID, full name, and his link, because you can get his stat from this link, and also you have his jersey number, you have his position, so here it's a center, and you have also the type, because if it's a goalie or a defenseman, but in this case it's a forward, and his abbreviation. So I don't want to go too much into that. I don't know if people here really like hockey, but yeah, so this is the way that works. So the way we're gonna go with that, it's first we're gonna fix the issue we get yesterday. So what I mean by that, it's, you see right now my roster file is empty. If I run the code we did yesterday, perfect, we get the full list of team, so 94 line. If I rerun it again, the issue we got is we append to the end, and I just made a mistake yesterday. So what I mean by that, it's yesterday I did say OS append here, and we don't need that. So if we just remove this and we rerun the code, now you see I get 94, and if I rerun again the code, I'm just removing everything and just rebooting everything back. Perfect. So now the thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start by creating a new file inside the NHL API package called rosters. So this one, I'm gonna say so this one here is gonna be a pretty simple one. It's gonna be kind of like what we did yesterday. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy the full JSON here, go back to this website, removing everything here at the top where we get this auto generate stuff. So I'm gonna say copy to clipboard. I'm gonna paste that there. Now here I'm gonna call the auto generate roster. I'm gonna remove the copyright. I'm gonna remove this line here. I'm gonna remove this line and this line. And I don't know why my file watcher isn't working, but you see, now we get this thing like that. So a roster, I have a person, jersey number, and everything. Yeah, and this is what I think, sorry. This is almost what we need, jersey position, yeah, makes sense. After that here, we're gonna do like we did yesterday. We're gonna create another type, another struct called NHL roster response. So that's gonna be the response where we're gonna decode. And we're gonna say we're gonna receive a roster, and the roster is gonna be a slide of the roster struct we just create here at the top, and the JSON gonna be roster, because if you look here, you see roster is in singular. Okay, so now here I'm gonna create a function. I'm gonna call that get roster, and his job here is gonna be to receive a team ID. And if we look back to the team, the ID is a type of integer, so we're gonna use this same type. So we're gonna say it's an int, and his job here is gonna be to return a slice of roster and or an error, like that. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna just put the file watcher. It's crazy. So if you use Golang, you just go here, go file watcher, and you just say go format. You click enable, you click apply. So now each time, so you see here, when I save, it works. So it just make me crazy to do this by myself. I'm so used to this to be automatic. So Same thing as what we did yesterday. We're gonna use the HTTP package to make a fetch request. So we're gonna have the result and the error, and that's gonna be from the HTTP GET request. And the way we work with the GET request is we're gonna format a string, where here we're gonna receive first thing a string, that's gonna be the base URL. We append at the end of that the themes. We append after that a number, and we add the roster. After that here, I'm gonna add here the base URL, and here that's gonna be the theme ID. So that's gonna be for here, D is for, I think it's digital, so not digital, but like it's the numeric stuff. So after that here, if we have an error, we're gonna return nil and the error. Like we did yesterday, we're gonna defer the fact that we want to close the body at the end of this function. After that, we're gonna create a type response equal to the NHL response struct, NHL raster response struct. After that, we get an error or not from the JSON new decoder, where we pass our response res.body, and we want to decode that to an interface, not an interface, but we want to decode that to the struct we just created, the response. And finally, here we can just return the response that raster or the error. So you see, it's almost like a copy and paste of the code we did yesterday. So you see, it's almost like the same stuff. You do the same stuff. I mean, it's just an API call. This is what you do when you do an API call. And yeah, and you just let the function, the client of this function, to go with the error and stuff like that. So you're good to go now. So now the thing we need to do, it's gonna be where we're gonna learn about goroutine and stuff like that, and concurrency and things like this. So what we're gonna do now is we can remove this log here. And what I want to do is, so in Go, the thing is, if you work with goroutine and stuff like that, and you do not say to your main function when to close it, the thing is, all goroutine, it's terminate at the end of this function. And the thing is, it don't gonna wait. So the issue about that, it's, you can, example, in our case, running, I think it's 3132 goroutine to each of the themes. And the thing is, if I run that without waiting, the function is gonna finish, terminate all the goroutine, and we don't gonna have any answer of our API call. So that's kind of why they create a package called Sync, who help you to synchronize your goroutine and make it like simpler for you, and like having a way for you to talk to your program and say, hey, that's the time where you can go further and stuff like that. And the way you work with that, okay, here, if you came from a background like me, like Node and PHP and stuff like that, this is something like you didn't see a lot, but you're gonna see it's gonna be pretty simple. So first thing, I'm gonna create something called a WaitGroup. In a WaitGroup, it's gonna be a type of sync, so the package WaitGroup. So this WaitGroup, like you see, wait for a collection of goroutine to finish, the main goroutine call, etc., and do some stuff with that. And each of the goroutine call done when finished, and at the same time you have a wait, can be used to block until. So finally, we want to use a function. We're gonna make your goroutine. We're gonna talk to your program and say, hey, I'm done with everything. Go further and do whatever you want and stop. So the way that works for this stopping, it's you need to create a goroutine like that. So the way you create a goroutine is you just append this, not append, but prefix your function with go like that. And here you say wait. So the wait method, wait block until the wait group counter is 0. And the reason why it's 0, it's, you see here this thing? The way a wait group work, it's, I think they call that like a semaphore counter. It's, you need to tell Go how many goroutine you have. And example, in our case, we're gonna say, hey, we have 32 goroutine. And each time one of them is finished, we're gonna call done. And the done gonna decrement the count of 32 by 1. So after you finish one team, it's 31, 30, 29, etc. And the wait here is gonna work, and you're gonna say, hey, when the count is now 0, mean you can go further. So you just put that. So now you make sure then this function here gonna block, so we don't gonna get there until all the goroutines gonna finish. And here, the way we're gonna add the length of, not the length, but the count of a goroutine, it's by doing WaitGroup that add. We want to add, and that's gonna be the length of the teams. So you see the team here, we're gonna have like 32 team. So we're gonna have 32 WaitGroup. I think it's 31, so I always say 32 because they're gonna get a new team like next year, but it's 31. Like that. After that here, the thing is, I mean, if you look here, we talk about WaitGroup, we talk about goroutine, but what is channel? So a channel here is gonna be a way for you to communicate between your goroutine. Because the thing is, each goroutine, it's kind of an independent function who is running alone and don't care about nothing else. And the thing is, if you have some state to pass between of those, it's gonna be, it's hard for you, you cannot, because those functions are kind of like independent of each other. So the way you work with that is to create a channel. We're gonna create a channel called result. And for create a channel, you make use of the make. You say, I want to create a channel, so chan for channels. And you say that's gonna be a type of NHL API that NHL API that roster, yeah, like that, a slides of an NHL API roster. And in this case, you can put like a number or something like that here to buffer your channel. But in our case, that's gonna be on buffer. Sorry, I'm really typed really badly. Unbuffered channel. So we don't have like we don't buff this thing, so that means like we don't want to stop like the amount of thing to pass there. So now here, what I'm gonna do to make it work, it's a for loop. Okay, we loop over each team. So each team gonna give us this stuff like that, where each of this team have an ID. And we want to run each of the API call independently, but all together, so in concurrent mode. So that's why you are again gonna use a goroutine. And this goroutine here, I'm gonna pass it the team, who's gonna be equal to initial API.team, and you need to pass it like that. It's kind of like in JavaScript where you have like an immediate calling function, something like that. Example, if you do some kind of a jQuery where you have like a function inside something like that, and you do this like this, and you call this function right away. So here, I'm gonna call this function, and I want to pass the teams as the argument. So this team gonna equal to this team like that. After that here, I'm gonna receive my roster or an error if I call initial API that get roster with the team ID. So the team ID is gonna be equal to the team.id. After that here, I'm gonna check for an error. If I have an error, I know it's not the best solution, but I'm gonna just fatal F, so I'm gonna terminate the program with an error. So error getting a roster, and I'm gonna just pass the error like that. So if we don't have an error, I want to pass the data to my channel here. And the way you work with that is to put the name of your channels, and you put like an arrow like that, and you put your roster. So it's kind of like, hey, I want to inject that to this thing. So I want to push this thing to that. So all the roster we get them gonna be pushed to this channels right there. And finally, like I told you, if we want to decrement the WaitGroup, so I'm 31, I just finished the job of this thing. What I need to do is call my WaitGroup and call done. And by calling done, remember what I told you, that's gonna decrement by 1. So remember, we did use of the WeG add right there, where we did say, hey, we want 31. I call we done here. It's going to be 30, 29, etc. And when we get 0, this call this function right there. After that, one thing is important. It's when you have a channel like that, you want to close this channel. And so we just put a close right there. So we wait. So when everything is finished, we can close this channel. Now after that, I want to display the data to the end user. So I'm gonna call a function called display. I know this function is not created yet, but we're gonna make use of Golang autocomplete, and I think you can do the same with VS Code. You create a function like that. You click on Option Enter, and you say create function display. The beauty of this is they create a function just below, and they already put your argument right there. Now this function, it's pretty simple. The only job you do is to log stuff. The thing it's here, remember, okay, is a channel of slice roster. So the way we need to work first, it's we need to loop over this. So I'm gonna range over my result. And now you see the R is gonna be the NHL roster, because now what you need to understand is like we have many rosters, so you have each team have a slice of roster. So after that, I'm gonna range again. So here, remember, okay, when you range, the air here gonna get there like that, where I'm gonna range. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna want to range over this thing again. And now our Ross is gonna be one player. So here is a slice of roster we get, and here we loop over this slice, we don't get the index, and here we want to get the element himself. So now here I'm gonna print line, a bit like what we did yesterday. I'm gonna put that like that 2 times. And I'm gonna print F here, and I'm gonna say name. So the name of the player is gonna be like that. So you see here, I put %s, this is for the name, and after that I do \n to create a new line. So here, that is gonna be the name. So you can do Ross.person.fullname. After that, I'm gonna do Command D here to copy paste this line. So I'm gonna say ID. So his ID is gonna be a number. So that's gonna be Ross.person.id. After that, I also want to see his position. And you know what? I want to have the ID first. So his position is gonna be a string. So it's position that abbreviation. I don't care about the full length, so that's gonna be one single letter. And finally, I want to also maybe see his jersey number. So it's gonna be like that, and that's gonna be his Ross.jersey jersey number. And I say it's a number, but that should be a string, because you see jersey number is a type of string. Perfect. So I think everything looks okay. So now I'm gonna run the code to see if it works. Everything looks okay. It takes 800 milliseconds. And now if we look in our roster file, we get all the player of each of the team. So you see right there, we get the player of. So finally, that's the thing about Goroutine, it's you don't know which one gonna come first. In this case, so here looks like it's like the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers. So sometimes that can be Canadian Montreal, something like that. You see here, after that we have Pittsburgh. And if I scroll N, we have 4,632 line. So you see, we have a lot and a lot of player. But you see how fast this is versus doing one API call for each. So You can do one API call for each, but example, if the API call take you, I don't know, 200 milliseconds, you need to do 200 milliseconds multiplied by 31 for each of the team. Now we run the 31 API call all together, and now that's kind of why it's really fast. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're gonna just clean up a bit, and I just want to get back over all this stuff because I think maybe people are gonna get confused, so maybe another example is gonna help you. But yeah, so it's pretty nice here where we are. So we're gonna stop there for this video. Again, the code's gonna be pushed on GitHub on the part 2 branch. I'm gonna put the link in the description. Also, please subscribe if you didn't, and like and click the like button if this is something you've learned something. This really helped me to get motivated and continue with that. I hope you have a good day, and bye everyone.